On a red alert.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Trek Podcast. I'm Dag. In the house today, I have my esteemed co-hosts Doc Watney and Renzo. Today, we are going to be giving you a RiffTrek. If you don't know what a RiffTrek is, or if you've heard of that other show with a very similar sounding name, when we do RiffTreks, we're watching an episode of Star Trek. We're going to riff on it, and you can follow along on the audio. We're going to count it down and say when we're going to start the episode. So this is going to be an audio-only reaction, riffing, fun-making, insulting, probably adult-rated riff on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 19, In the Pale Moonlight. Some of you may have heard of it before.
Once or twice.
Maybe.
Nope, never. Haven't heard of it.
And just to sync when we press start, when you press start, I'm going to count us down, and we're going to start on go. So 3, 2, 1, go.
And we're live.
I mean, we've all had those days where we just don't know what time it is or what day it is.
What year?
Whole episode takes 2 weeks.
Sounds like he needs a
Computer?
therapist.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Get Miggly Mo up in here. So, tell me.
Is that eye contact?
Yeah.
I feel like we're making eye contact right now.
We're very,
He
we're
does
very
almost
personal.
break the wall. Yeah.
Personal into Cisco's world.
It's awful.
Honestly, though, the list seems too short.
For a war that is affecting billions? Probably, yeah. But it might just be Federation personnel. It may not be...
Even so.
Aw.
Well, I mean, how many ships can we have built in the last 7 years? We lost 40 to the Borg 7 years ago.
Yeah, but that's less than the crew of one ship. Imagine, like, the fleet battles that we've seen in this show.
What if it's an expandable list? You be like the ship name, and then you tap it, and it tells you everybody for the ship. But you also have ships, and you have fighters, and you have support personnel. You've got your Marines on the ground.
Such an important, like, bit there.
Mm.
You know, for Trill, she thinks like a Romulan really, really well.
Big brain. Big
Mhm.
brain Jadzia.
No, if you're gonna point at her brain, rub your stomach.
Speaking
Big
of,
brain Jadzia.
all of your resistance are belong to us.
But no, like, that little description there of, like, the Jem'Hadar using the Romulan neutral zone to attack the Federation that way is one of the things that makes a lot of people's, like, maps of the galaxy in Star Trek make no sense. It means that there must be some border between the Cardassians and the Romulans for that to function.
Or the Dominion has taken advantage of free territory to create bases and get all the way over to the Beta Quadrant.
Sure, that works just as well, but that's still then claiming space. That creates a border between the two.
Yeah.
My point is just, like, you see all these maps, like, even the official Star Trek cartography ones show, like, the Cardassian Union here, the Roman Empire here, and the Federation just in between. Well, there's no way to get across without fighting everything in the Federation. So there's got to be some connection.
What if the Romulans have unknown territory in this area?
They're talking about the neutral zone, though. We know where the neutral zone is.
Right, but like unknown to us. But the Romulans have staked territory in this area, and there is another neutral zone around it, as per the terms of the Treaty of Algeron or whatever. And I'm trying to make it work, but unfortunately, every traditional
I think it
map doesn't.
Yeah. The other issue is three-dimensional space, right? Like, they're flying above.
That is true. We don't have a comprehensive three-dimensional map of those territory boundaries. And it doesn't matter by the 32nd century because Romulus no longer exists. Y'all renamed a whole ass planet.
What a beautiful intro.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to talk over it.
No, I'm just enjoying.
Cal and I got walked down the aisle to it.
Oh.
Y'all remember? You were there.
I do. I was there. Uh-huh.
What's paper? It's a piece of paper. It's the 23rd century, Ben. They don't have paper anymore. You ever wonder if this moment was written for not Dax?
No. I think only Dax could do this scene.
I mean, Worf's your strategic and operations officer. He should be the one giving this speech.
But
role-wise.
Putting Worf in the seat of identifying as Romulan isn't going to be workable for him.
I suppose. Granted, there's a certain sinister delivery that only Dax can deliver here. Worf would be very neutral.
The hair is very poofy. I'm just commenting on the French braid there.
Yeah, that was Dax's trademark style.
I feel like it's just extra, almost cranial. You know? It's kind of lovely.
Picard maneuver. Nog? So you suppose Garrick pulled that yoke off of an Amtrak?
Oh, I see.
That shoulder pattern.
Yeah.
Looks like the back of a bus. A Greyhound.
Oh. It's certainly interesting. Color combo.
It looks like a hotel room carpet.
Yes. Thank you.
Rejected Wesley Crusher uniform colors.
Owing a favor to Garrick just does not seem like a good idea.
Mm-mm.
Makes me wonder why they didn't go into like the old data banks of super weapons. Some Genesis missiles who just like shower at Cardassian space.
Oops. We demand the extradition of Cisco. We demand justice. So who thinks Garrick was lying when he was saying it's going to exhaust all of my, because he's Garrick. By the end of this episode, I'm convinced that Garrick had no contacts and he was just stressing the situation to Cisco to really like weigh the depth and know that he'd be owed a favor sometime.
Well, he did have to get the optolithic data rod authentic from
he?
Cardassian Central Command, so
Sure.
there is that.
He worked for Central Command. You don't think he has a spare one lying around somewhere?
Maybe.
The Dominion invaded Betazed. We did a audioscape of that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The old days.
It wasn't that long ago.
2 years.
It was probably 2 years, yeah.
The pandemic was both incredibly short and incredibly long at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'd think if they could get to Beta Z that they'd have a hell of a supply line difficulty there.
Yeah. I mean, the only supply line that's really going to matter for them is probably Ketracel White. Most other things you can replicate, right?
I mean, I suppose they could replicate that, but, you know, they could probably set up Ketracel White facilities planet side, too.
How do you be a whole, like, planet of telepaths and lose? Like, I don't get it.
There's a book for that.
I'm sure there is, but, like, how did it happen in 10 hours? You're literally telepaths. Like,
they threaten to bombard the surface of the planet, or you surrender. You surrender.
yeah, okay. Might as well be Mandalore.
There you go.
They were too stubborn. So that's why they
Granted,
died.
The book, I think it's called the War of Beta Z, the War for Beta Z.
Battle for Beta Z.
Battle for Beta Z. I need the alliteration there. Thanks, writer. It actually features Deanna Troi being a super awesome telepathic badass for once.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, some escaped super telepath criminal. So.
Yeah, what they figured out in the book is that Jem'Hadar couldn't handle full emotions, so this one evil telepath guy had the ability to push emotions into people. So when Deanna Troi figured out how he was doing it, she would push it into like a Jem'Hadar and they would like convulse and die. So she trained like an army of people to like give emotions to the Jem'Hadar and they would just like fall over dead. That's
That
the
seems
TLDR.
like
I love that.
Deus Ex Machina.
It's very like, that feels very like Japanese, you know, with like the concept of like an onryo and like the ring where like she basically just makes you so scared you die.
Well, that's what the criminal guy that she learned it from did originally. He did it so to magnify the fear of the people he was killing for his own enjoyment.
Oof.
So he was twisted.
Jeepers Creepers.
Knack.
That's the only part that I think he had to call in a favor for, is like he knew the guy to hit. He just needed to know where the guy was going to be. You don't exactly announce you're going to a secret meeting with the Dominion ambassador.
Many Bothans died. I'm sorry, I keep making Star Wars references. I'll stop. I know.
We're in the middle of a Star War, so it's okay.
Mm.
See, he's just spilling too much information about this optolithic data rod. He's like, yeah, it was in my shoebox under my bed, but I mean, I'm gonna just embellish this because you always have to practice lying. He has said that so many times in the series.
That's fair, but I feel like Cisco would know if the optolithic data rod was not an important element of the thing.
Surprised Section 31 didn't figure it out ahead of time. Imagine being a captain in an army and just being able to call world leaders and be like, hey, I need a favor.
To be fair, they definitely empower captains with a lot more power than real militaries do because they have to act as diplomats too. They're more like ambassadors than they are like captains many of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd expect that somebody, in order to pull Gowron's chain, you need at least a Federation Council member, if not the president.
Though, to be fair, he's got Worf who could probably yank his chain a little.
Not right now. He's not. I don't. Let's see. Season 6. Is he a member of the House of Gowron? Martok?
House of Martok, but yeah.
Okay. Because we don't see Gowron again until Tacking Into the Wind, where, you know, he dies. And, he has that confrontation with Gowron there. This dude's a fucking pervert. Get rid of him.
He's really creepy looking. Good makeup.
I'm like, I feel like he's like a Saurian variant.
Lack of nostrils.
Maybe octopus. The modeling. How do you keep those head ridges clean? You imagine with all the little nooks and crannies, like bacterial infection would be common.
The sonic shower takes care of it. Cheers.
I'll never know.
Can I just go 5 minutes without someone trying to kill Quark on this station? Please? I think we can call it a bribe. Wayland Bitters, huh? Wayland.
Utani, maybe? I want to know more about Ferengi chivalry.
I hardly think it exists.
Easier to defend your best Dabo girl than risk losing her and all the money she brings in.
Yeah. It's a business matter.
That's like even better than capitalism, actually, because like they don't care if you leave or quit, and they don't promote you.
You're replaceable.
Yeah. But Quark's like, you're not taking my best Dabo girl. Human, or whatever you are. Tolar. Captain, I borrowed this leopard print blouse from my mother. My Moogie.
My Moogie.
Another lie. It's chump change. I know how much you can afford, Quark.
Nice shirt, honestly, for a Ferengi.
For a Ferengi that grew up in the 80s. No. I have to give this shirt back to my Moogie. Should have asked for 10. Imagine being the Starfleet captain who sacrificed the Alpha Quadrant over a matter of 5 bars of gold pressed latinum. Quark, he said anything else, and you said no. You could have asked for a joyride on the Defiant, but no.
I think that would have been an easy one to grant, to be honest.
Defiance on convoy duty. Have fun. Pop quiz. How many casualty lists has Cisco now had? He said 15? So in this episode. There you go. Gotta hand it to Avery. He nails this.
I could use a little bit of like eyebrow movement, though, in the acting.
Here. Watch the video to see that movement. I like how Garrick thinks he's an operations officer now.
Garrick,
the color is on point.
Yeah.
Gold with a black yoke. Let's go. It's best not to dwell. He says that like 3 times this episode.
Minutia? It's minute, isn't it minutia?
It is minutia.
Cardassian, universal translator.
It's like his 30-second language, who knows?
See.
Biomimetic gel.
This is where there is no other guy.
Biomimetic gel?
Watney knows about biomimetic gel.
Oh, no.
That is some... Gosh, that was a hell of an arc in Trek RP. You mean the one in my shoebox? I'm convinced. I just am.
What need would he have for 200 liters of biomimetic gel, though?
You'll find out at the end of the episode. Bashir explains it, but gets cut off.
It is responsible to ask for something like that in writing.
Hey, if I'm the one asking for the super unstable, dangerous equipment, I'm not going to have the buck stop with me.
I mean, Cisco even says he's checking in with Starfleet Command occasionally here and there during this, so.
Bashir needs to be ethically clear.
These are very Russian estimates. Putin's estimates for conquering Kyiv and everything.
It was incompetency that gave the whole thing away. How many costume changes does Garrett get this episode? Jeez.
It's over the course of 2 weeks. They gotta make it seem like it's time passing.
I guess.
Beep, 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 beep. Done.
I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it further. Will it now?
Eric wanting to say hello. Generally
See,
not good news.
There needs to be a Lower Decks episode called a Garrick Hello instead of a Vulcan Hello.
Why haven't they done that?
Because they
Dad?
haven't got Andy Robinson to be Garrick yet.
They haven't hired you.
Damn it.
That's why. Gotta get him to fix that.
I'm right on it.
He's looking at me, guys. What do I...
Well, he's looking at Renek in the eye.
You don't feel that heart flutter? That's the war crimes.
It's not a war crime the first time, okay?
Technically, it's only a war crime if you're found guilty, I guess. How does he know this? How does he know this?
He was the gardener on the Cardassian embassy to Romulus for a couple years, remember?
Oh, right.
He has to know their security policies.
Yeah, we're good. DS9's Floors said trans rights matter.
I actually love the fact that the Romulan runabout in this, like, lands, docks, gets brought in, and then decloaks.
It is a secret meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Worf's disdain for Garrick. Elevator go up. Play some music. Dude, 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 dude. Elevator.
Just needs Girl from Ipanema.
Watney, you have a career in beatboxing elevator music.
I can play that very well.
Isn't that a neat scene, though?
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Ooh.
Classic
We are
Romeo
definitely not
uniforms.
changeling infiltrators. So I think that's Stephen McHattie, who would go on to play Dexter's father in the Showtime series Dexter.
Oh.
So why did he respond to a request from a captain to come meet?
He wanted to get a tour of Deep Space Nine while it was still there.
I feel like Garrick is like the DM.
Cauliflower and Romulan ale are blue. Are they the same drink, or do the Romulans just like blue?
I actually think it's the same drink. It's just a different name for it, like their word for it.
Mm.
Superman, Kal-El.
By the 2370s, we finally added the Romulan lexicon to the Universal Translator. At least our uniforms don't look like the back of an elevator shaft. Only if you're playing Twister. Abrogating is a big word for a Romulan dipshit.
Abrogating. Abrogating. I like it.
I'd want proof is very reasonable.
I would like 80 proof.
I wonder what the proof is for Khalifa.
Well, let me get the Sailor Jerry.
We did say this was rated adult. Jeffrey Combs originates the role of hologram Wei Yun in this episode. Cisco looks like a man who's trying to figure out if his program's going to pass, and not like a man who's pissed off and hearing about a betrayal. So you hand over the only evidence that you have to a Romulan without any security precautions at all. Ooh, great facade there, Cisco. He could have just tossed it away, thrown it away. How do you know what he's going to do with it? Too trusting.
I mean, it relies on the expectation that Vreenak cares about Romulus. And I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation.
I don't think it's an unreasonable expectation for Vreenak to ask for it. But Vreenak, being a Romulan ambassador who's a Romulan, should be like, he gave it to me way too easily. No hesitation, no security, no paper trail, just, here. I could throw this out the airlock and go home.
The chip has been placed, though, and it's almost like Cisco needs to be more forthcoming with the evidence to him to get what he wants, which ultimately he is kind of on his knees to the sky and really needs the allyship at this point. So maybe I will hand it over to you as a show.
I mean,
it could be that a little bit at play, but I do think that Cisco, as you said, appeared way more like, hey, I hope this works, like in the moment, as opposed to...
Imagine if he'd been cagey, though, right? Like, that would meet exactly what a Romulan would expect of somebody trying to deceive them. Romulans expect everything as a game within game within game, so if you fall into their expectations, they assume it's all fake. Here, you do something surprising. He asks for it, you give it to him. Okay, well, that doesn't not what I expected.
I got copies. You know, maybe this isn't the original. Maybe I made a copy of it to show it to you and give it to you.
It's a snake.
I wish it would have shown us more of that.
It's a commercial break.
What commercial do you think played?
Right after that, macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, let's go with Kraft.
Certainly, he communicated this information ahead of time, right?
How would you secure that?
Do you want to secure that? You're going to tell the whole Alpha Quadrant. Why would you secure it?
Because you got to prepare your media strategy.
Call a news station and just air it live. Go on your Twitch stream. Morbid humor.
What?
Exploded, you don't say. Watney's got the sad or the Pikachu face going. Oh.
Oh. To Alderon. I'm just kidding.
So, where did Garrett get explosives?
Oh my god. Oh, jeez. Tell me everything.
Just thrash the store.
Oh, I'm just matching this fabric to this fabric. Ah!
I love that he's cracking his knuckles. He's like, I'm getting ready to do another punch.
Field in blood.
This is why you always make that phone call, people.
But remember, the 4 bodyguards, they were innocent in all this. They had families, they may have had kids and parents they looked after. They're dead too.
So, 1 hologram forger guy, 1 senator, 4 guards. But, this is the part where I'm like, Garrick had the optolytic data right all along, and he swindled Cisco for the
biomimetic gel to make a bomb. I get you're getting at.
Make the bomb on the shuttle.
Meanwhile, there's some like Dabo girl in the changing room, like, oh my god!
What you don't see is Garrick has to kill her after the shot. I'm sorry, my dear. That's more expensive than anything you can afford. Nice of them to wait for a PST time,
Yeah.
Could have been at like 0757.
See? The Romulan struck bases along the Cardassian border, so there has to be a border.
Ira Stephen Bear is shit. Let's just go with that. We could talk to Robert Hewitt Wolf. Be like, why did this happen? What were you guys thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Grapple harder. You were a wrestler for a while, so, figure it out.
I have a coworker who quotes that line all the time.
And stop.
Whenever he has to disappoint like a customer or another team or something, he walks away from the conversation being like, because I can live with it. I can live with it. And I always crack up when he does it.
So, before we started recording, I had asked if any of you knew where the title came from. And I suspect that at least one of you has seen the movie, the 1989 Michael Keaton film Batman, wherein the Joker asks him, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" They actually just pulled that into this episode title.
Is that the origins of that phrase?
That is the origins of that phrase.
Okay.
It's so iconic, it doesn't feel like it, but it is.
So I knew that he had said that. So that's like super iconic that when he says that in Batman. But I didn't realize that I thought it may have been like a poem or something.
Yeah, I assumed it was like a poem or maybe something from like early cinema, like a the Maltese Falcon kind of thing, like something from that era. But no, I guess it. Okay, cool.
Tell me, kid.
Well, listeners, that was our riff on In the Pale Moonlight. We're probably going to stick around and just talk about findings and stuff like that. But we're no longer watching the episode. If you still are, it might mean you had a potty break or you had to get something to drink or, baby was crying. So, we see you.
That was great.
Watney, you liked it?
Loved it.
Good.
Loved it. I love that backward storytelling. Canterbury Tale type beat. That's great.
That political maneuvering kind of thing.
Yeah, all like the clandestine stuff of it, the sacrifices made. The acting was pretty good.
I'm a sucker for politics and Star Trek, so for me, this episode is everything I want out of it, right? Like, give me the intrigue. Tell me why Garrick is the right person to get this whole thing working. The sacrifice of one person's dignity, cool, but like, what's the point? And they gave us all of the justification for it. It was great.
And it just feels like, when you're desperate like that and you need it, but it feels impossible. You have to do the impossible and become something you're not to like make that happen. You basically change as a person.
Yeah, and I mean, there's real historical examples of this sort of thing happening too, right? Like, so in the First World War, the Germans were losing, the Central Powers were losing, and one of the things that they were afraid of was the Americans entering the war to finish them off, right? So they actually sent something that was called the Zimmerman telegram over to the government of Mexico that if the United States gets involved in the war, we'll support you if you invade Texas and California from the south, right? Problem was it got intercepted, and it only further motivated the United States to get into the war against the Germans. So, like, little attempts to trick groups to get into things, it's got some background to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels really plausible, and then at the end, you're kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe they pulled that off. And you have the right man for the job. It just so happened to be the devil. You had to dance with him.
Yeah, and I mean, Sisko's like distaste for Garrick in this episode doesn't last, because we've got plenty of episodes later on in the season and in the last season where Garrick is like on the Defiant talking about like wanting to liberate his homeland, and Sisko's like, yeah, you do that, bro, essentially.
Well, so like the first 10 episodes of this season was the war arc, and Garrick was on the Defiant.
Yeah, I like, I admittedly don't have like a refreshed context of like right before and after the episode, but it felt like this was such a turning point for everything that you kind of make do, and you're almost like trauma bonded with this person. Like you're like you've both committed things and you just like pass each other in the hallway like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a watcher, right? Because you're right, Watney. It's like he's talking right to us, the audience, watching this whole thing. because he's writing it as a person or dictating it as a personal log, right? So it brings us more involved. Like, what kind of choice would I have made if I was Cisco in this situation? Would I have also sacrificed one hollow forger, one Romulan senator, four bodyguards to save billions to trillions of people? I can speak for myself. I probably would make the same choice. I think that's pretty legit. But I can definitely understand why some people would not be able to bring themselves to that place.
Well, and Cisco at the end has like basically plausible like deniability to an extent with like the total outcome, because he like let Garrick work as he needed to make things happen, and was kind of like, here's my plan. But then like you have this backdrop and this like total foundation that you have no idea exists to like really seal it in blood.
Yeah.
So good
and
stuff.
I mean, Garrick definitely covered his bases on it, right? Like the whole like the Tal Shiar will find it, they'll investigate it, they'll eventually forensically extract out the videos, and then they'll discover it's a forgery, is what Cisco thinks. But Garrick's like, no, they'll blame the damage to it, any inconsistencies, to the burning of the shuttle around it, which is pretty logical.
Yeah, he's like 5 steps ahead, maybe more.
It's
So here's a
definitely
question
for an audience that doesn't understand how coding works in that that way.
Well, we don't know how they encode onto optolithic data rods,
Right,
to be honest.
right, definitely.
Who
I mean,
knows?
if he's a forger, clearly he probably forged geotags, signatures, those kinds of things.
What happens with the biomimetic gel?
So,
Do we
So
know?
my theory is that Garrick already had the optolithic data rod. So he gets in the turbo lift with Cisco, and he's like, I found someone who has an
The
optolithic
quantity
data
can
rod,
be
and
negotiated.
he wants 200 liters of biomimetic gel. And as soon as Cisco's like, there's not that much in the sector, Garrick falls back and goes, I believe the amount is negotiable. He over-asked, and he got every bit that he could get so that he could leave this untraceable bomb on the senator's shuttle while the senator was
Oh my god, the
retrieving-
biomimetic gel was the bomb.
Yes.
That is Dag's arguments.
Bashir is in Cisco's office listing off the number of things that it can be used for, and Cisco cuts him off when he says it can be used as a bioengineered explosive.
Garrick is just like more than 5 steps ahead.
Right. He's playing 10D
He
chess
probably knew Cisco was gonna ask him for help and was like, yeah, I got you.
The
I got
Dominion
the
War
whole
never
thing
happened.
ready.
Change things are a mess.
I'm just sitting here tailoring my shirts.
Yeah.
All the while thinking up my schemes and what happens if so-and-so asks me for help? What happens if so-and-so asks me for help?
You gave a tailor dangling plot threads and didn't expect him to turn a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it, Dag. It's totally plausible, right? But it's also equally plausible that he simply traded it for an optolithic data rod, and that none of that excess part is necessary. Like,
you lose
simplest explanation.
You lose all of the cool intrigue.
Sure.
If you
Yeah.
do
But
it
the
that
simplest
way.
explanation is usually the correct one.
Well, I
You have an
think the
ancestor on
intrigue is
Vulcan,
there. The intrigue is there without an explanation present.
Yeah.
The intrigue exists there, and that's like the beautiful thing about who you're working with is that it could be anything, but the job gets done, and you don't have to be the guy to do it because you're working with someone who's willing to do it. And if they are
Cisco
lying to
knew,
you
too.
by omission, exactly. So there's no recorded conversations of you agreeing to this, agreeing to that, making those moves. So you have someone who's making those moves for you.
Yeah, no, and Cisco definitely knows what kind of person Garrick is. He knows his background. He knows what lengths he's willing to go to. So there's no like innocence for Cisco because he didn't know all of the details of the plan.
Correct. Plausible deniability. That's what this episode like should really be called. I mean, In the Pale Moonlight is a wonderful.
I mean, by the end of the series, there are really only 4 people who could have an inkling of what happened based on the fact of that skirmish at Quark's. Quark's still around. Odo's back in the Changeling homeworld, so he's not gonna spill. Cisco's in the temple.
He is going to expel. He's literally liquid at that point.
Hey.
But
So
to
Worf,
investigate them.
because he had to set up the security perimeter there.
Yeah, and Quark got stabbed, and the Dabo girl had to be a part of that altercation. Unless they killed the Dabo girl. Like, it was the same Dabo girl in the changing room.
I like that. I like that.
Cut off all the loose ends. That also like a tailor to cut all the loose ends.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, so in beta canon, the Romulans do eventually figure it out, but it is way too late to actually make any significance to it. Becomes a bit of a diplomatic issue for the Federation, but not too late. On the bright side for that, when the good guys actually did conquer Cardassia Prime, they found actual war plans for conquering Romulus, so that kind of like assuaged some hurt feelings, I guess, but it was realized later on that they had been tricked to joining the war early in that sense.
Yeah. I think that it makes so if I'm the Romulans, like the whole walking through my backyard to give the Federation a bloody nose, like probably not a good long-term strategy. And even without this like data rod Faye, definitely, like you said, like they found plans for that. It may not have been exactly what had been discussed in the fake, but you can't say that like it is speculation, but it's the next logical step.
I mean,
I agree.
Imperialism functions on precedent, right? If I'm traipsing through the Romulan backyard to give the Federation a bloody nose, and in the future where I win this war and the Romulans are okay, all right, our borders are our borders, and I'm like, they weren't before. Why now? We've been coming through this territory. We've been coming through this territory for years. You didn't say anything. What? Just because we take out one of your allies? That's so very like you. This is our territory. Come and get it.
I mean, this has another parallel in real history, right? Like, there was the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact at the beginning of World War II, which was between Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, where they would split Poland, the Baltics, between the two of them, right? Like, they both invaded from both sides, right? And then they had a nice little border between the two. Stalin knew that it wasn't going to last, so he used that time to build up a military, essentially. That was his plan. We just need to prepare for when the Nazis come at us, right? And Hitler was like, this just buys us enough time to handle everything to the west, conquer France, and then we can go kick Russian ass, right? So it was a non-aggression pact, just like what the Romulans had with the Dominion, and everybody knew that it had a very finite ending. Once one or the other was ready, it was gonna break down. I'm sure that the Romulans are not naive enough to think that the Dominion would never attack them, but the Romulans are famously arrogant. Maybe they thought that they could win alone when the Klingons and Federation couldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, the Dominion's like, see Beta Z?
Yeah.
10 hours, bitch. Like, they like concrete evidence of badassery against telepaths. Are you guys telepaths? It's less time. Less time for you.
The Romulan leadership. Let's not talk about Romulans as a true people. Let's talk about just the leadership of the Romulans. They may have assessed the situation incorrectly or been fed misinformation somehow that led them to believe that whoever wins the war will have their resources so depleted that it will be easy for us to pick up those territories.
Maybe they're getting something else from the Dominion too that we don't know about.
That's where I think the misinformation came in. Just because there's a war now doesn't mean that the Dominion isn't still doing its full-on, infiltration misinformation routine. They did that for 2 seasons up until the war. I
mean, remember, most of the Tal Shiar leadership died because of the Dominion infiltration already. So they've already taken some blows to all this.
Yeah, that was
the die is cast
2.5 years ago.
Yeah. Like rebuilding an entire cadre of spies and the intelligence order, that's going to take time.
Yeah.
And
so that's probably what they were betting on, was we need to rebuild this institution. In the meantime,
they're also not the first ones. They're not the only ones, rather, that got this non-aggression pact treatment, right? Like, they mentioned that the Tholians, the Gorn, and I think that there was a third that all signed these things.
The Tholians?
Was it Zenkethi?
I think so.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Which, if you look on the map again, is like, these guys here, these guys way down here, these guys over here.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are from a different quadrant, so...
all over the place, but
the Tholians.
That's a good breakdown of things there, and a nice allegory to World War II.
Oh, I looked it up. It was the Miradorn. That was the other one that was
Oh.
mentioned.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are Tholians like super heated?
Yes.
Yes.
They have to
So
exist
changelings just like
at,
melt
like a super
away.
high temperature. There you go. Liquid polyalloy.
Well, we know that changelings can turn into fire. I guess they can handle some temperature.
Yeah. Changelings can become plasma. A changeling could probably exist as a Tholian. Remember that whole speech that the founder leader gives in season 3, where like, to become a rock is to begin to understand its existence. So you don't just pretend you're a rock, you become the thing.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're the changeling tasked with blending in with the Tholians, you're like, man, I picked the short straw.
Imagine if there was a Dominion like infiltrator for the Horta. I've got to be a slug. You're telling me I'm going to be a slug to infiltrate them?
No, kill you.
You really have to become a rock. Remember the whole rock thing. It's like our thing. Become the rock. Become water.
Overall, In the Pale Moonlight is one of the most iconic episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It definitely is a love letter from the writers to the audience that this ain't TNG, that all bets are off, anything can happen now. It definitely riled the Roddenberryists at the time, the purists who were like, you can't have this in Star Trek. So if you're one of those people who says Star Trek is too woke, you were right along with these people yelling at these episodes, because it just
disrespects the memory of Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, no, we absolutely have disrespected the memory of Gene Roddenberry, and plenty of episodes we loved doing that.
I mean, I feel like sacrifice, like if you want a utopian society, it's post-scarcity, like sacrifices are sort of necessary, right? It's always going to be something trying to threaten that, come for that. So
that's why I wanted to continue that series of like the road to United Earth. What socially engineered behavioral lessons instilled themselves into the human spirit between World War III and the founding of United Earth, and then again at the founding of the Federation. Only 90 years. That's a lifetime.
I'm sure the Vulcans had a lot to do with it, just helping us enlighten ourselves a good bit.
Perhaps. I mean, helping us with the resource acquisition. First of all, they're like, hey, if your people don't have to worry about houses, food, and medicine, then you can actually grow as a people.
The whole Maslow hierarchy thing.
Yeah.
Self-actualization. That's where we're going.
That's where we should be going. Any last thoughts?
Just a great episode. Really not much else I can add.
I want to watch DS9 in full now.
Yeah. Yep.
Give her old spin.
Season 1.
It does spin. It does.
Yes. Terracanor.
I don't want to give that laughter, but it's chuckly.
We're all allowed dad jokes every now and then, Dag.
Hey, to the listeners in the audience out there, thank you so much for watching or listening to us. If you did one or the other, you can find us on Spotify and YouTube at Beyond Trek Productions. My esteemed colleagues here, Watney, where can people find you if they want to?
Yeah. Just kidding. I kind of stream sometimes. Watney Games on Twitch. Very inconsistent content creator. Don't subscribe. I don't put out enough content for that. But
don't subscribe, but do buy pizza.
Pizza's good.
Yeah. Renzo, is your social media presence done anything?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want to argue with me, just comment on the YouTube video, or at me on Reddit, whatever.
So my co-hosts are now exclusive to Beyond Trek Podcast.
Correct.
But you can find me at Trek Nexus on Twitter and Blue Sky, now that we are in the Great Migration.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you guys want those codes, hit me up.
Or are you fleeing X now?
I'm not really fleeing. I exist in both places. But yeah, ready to jump ship.
Nice.
To everyone else, have a wonderful evening, day, morning, night, insomniac moment, and thank you for always tuning in to Beyond Trek Podcast.
Bye.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Patreon and Anchor supporters, to S. Tam and Nora Hickson. Thank you so much for being a part of Beyond Trek Podcast.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.